Hello and welcome to another episode of the Money Matters podcast. My name is PJ Patterson, and today's topic is debt recycling. This is a topic that I love because it's part of and forms one of our key strategies, which at Intrepid Wealth, we have a three-pronged approach to our strategy for growing wealth. And the first major prong or part of that strategy is a principal place of residence and buying that, and of course eventually paying off your non-deductible debt, which is what debt recycling is all about and enables us to do. So what is debt recycling exactly? Well, debt recycling really consists of taking your non-deductible debt and converting that to deductible debt. So if you had a home loan, let's say of $500,000, and you were able to pay off $100,000 of that, and you could redraw that $100,000 and go and buy some form of investment, then that $100,000 of debt would be tax deductible. Now, I'm going to go into some of the particulars of how this works in a moment, but that's as hard as it gets. That's the crux of how debt recycling works. And one of the things that I am very passionate about making clear to the Australian investing public, and really anyone, anywhere around investing in property, but it's particularly for Australians because we have this, what's the best way to put it? We have a fascination, it's a very deep-seated thing about investing in property. And I think that the property spruiking industry has done a little bit of a disservice to the Australian public because they typically will drive that, in order to get investment debt and tax-deductible debt, you have to buy an investment property. And that is simply not true, as I've just highlighted. You do not have to do that. You can just pay down some of your mortgage, redraw that money, buy an asset. Typically, you'd buy shares with that because, $100,000, let's say, if that's what you had, you wouldn't be able to buy a fully fledged investment property. Now, you could leverage into an investment property, borrow the deposit from your home loan, and buy an investment property. There's no problem in doing that, but my strategy focuses around paying off components of your home loan and redrawing those out as quickly as possible, creating tax-deductible debt, and buying a share portfolio and setting that up. That's actually the third leg of our investing program in Stool. The second leg is to have superannuation. So because I brought it up, just to reiterate that, the three-legged stool is principal place of residence, investment account through debt recycling, and then focusing on your superannuation as well. If you can do just those three things in your life and in your working life and focus on paying off your non-deductible debt, creating an asset outside of your property and building that up, and focusing on as well putting money into super, you'll be set. You'll be set at retirement. You will have a house, hopefully that's fully paid off. You'll have an investment account that's done very well, and you'll have a nice, healthy super balance. So let's talk about how to, I've already sort of gone through how to do debt recycling. And again, just to reiterate that, pay off debt that's non-deductible, redraw that back out, buy an asset. That can be anything. Shares, could be a property, could be anything, could be Bitcoins if you wanted to buy that. Needs to be something that, according to the ATO's guidelines, is either for future capital gain or is going to generate you income at some point so that it's accessible under your tax return. So what are the benefits of doing this? Well, first of all, as I mentioned a moment ago, you don't need to go out and buy an investment property to do this. So you don't need to go and expose yourself to the risk and leverage of property. Now, at the time I'm recording this, which is July of 2022, we are in a bear stock market. So the stock market's in a bear market. The global economy is not doing well, and the property market in Australia is beginning to, and has already begun to, decline. And interest rates are rising as well. So we're kind of in an environment where it's property as an asset class is riskier. And leveraging into anything that has additional risk added onto it is not a good idea. The only caveat I put on that is if it's for purchasing a principal place of residence. As long as your time horizon for living there is probably 7 to 10 years, it's really not a big deal. But if you're speculating, if you're buying something that's an investment asset, as in an investment property asset at a time when interest rates are rising, global economy and Australian economy is not doing well, that's a recipe for disaster. But again, you don't need to buy an investment property to create tax-deductible debt. You can just, again, recycle that debt and buy a share portfolio. The second thing is that you immediately are able to create tax-deductible debt. Great example of how this might work is, let's say you're a good high-income earner and maybe you get a bonus. You have a bonus structure as part of your salary remuneration every year. And you might get a $25,000 bonus. That'd be a pretty healthy bonus. It doesn't happen to everyone, of course, but it does happen in a lot of industries. And again, you get that $25K, you put it into your mortgage, you pull it back out, and you drop it straight into an investment account. And voila, you've got $25K of deductible debt that you can claim in your next year's tax. So the other benefit to this is you maintain, the third benefit, I suppose, is that you'll have liquidity in that investment, particularly if you do what I suggest, which is to start a share portfolio or managed fund portfolio. Liquidity is one of those things that is so important when you are investing outside of your principal place of residence, because if you need the cash, you can go and sell shares and get access to that cash. Now, you might not sell them if the market's down. I mean, you might sell them if the market's down and you might take a bit of a loss or whatever, but at least you'll have liquidity. Juxtapose that against an investment property. And for any of you who have bought and sold or own investment properties right now, and I've owned a few over my career, I can tell you that you don't just convert, if you need to sell that investment property, you just don't convert it to cash immediately. It takes, there's a sales cycle, then there's a settlement cycle, and you may not actually get your cash for anywhere up to 60 days. If there is a problem, that sometimes is too long to wait to get access to your cash. So the nice thing about investing in the way I'm describing through the three-pronged strategy of debt recycling, putting money into an investment account is that, again, if you need access to the cash, it is liquid, you can get access to that. So there you go. Debt recycling is something that every Australian should have in their strategic investment repertoire. And if you're unclear on how really it would work in your life, please feel free to contact Intrepid Wealth. I'd be more than happy to have a chat with you about that. And otherwise, I hope you are employing the strategy now. And if you are employing it, or you have some things going on in your life and in your investment portfolio where it's working for you, I applaud you for that. And as always, I wish you all the success with your investing. Thanks for listening.